Hey, Sean, I know I was supposed to drive today's episode, but I was thinking like I want to do whatever you want to do today. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what do you want to do? Because, I want to make sure you feel really good about it. And that would really make me happy if I knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I just really would feel better if you would if you if you would do. All right. Obviously, we're talking a little bit about people pleasing. That's the topic of
What?
today's episode.
Wait, this is a gag?
It's a gag. Ha! We're both, I guess, in a great mood today. So we're feeling a little silly and a little bit like a gag. So today's episode is going to be about people pleasing. This is something that Sean and I talked about. This shows up everywhere, both in our work and in our world around us. So much so that it really feels like something that needs to be addressed in a bigger, broader way. But we're going to dig in a little bit and kind of see maybe a little bit of what it's made of, where it comes from, how we develop it, and then hopefully some ways to undermine it.
And we're also going to have Brene Brown parachute in and basically tell us all the ways that we need to do this. Or we're just going to say her words and we're going to make sure you hear them nice, loud, and clear.
And just cross our fingers that maybe she'll parachute in anyway.
Yeah, one day, I think.
One day.
Brene, are you there?
Hey, are you there? All right, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
We got a ride for you.
We got to ride. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. I'm Jason LeCompte, a licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Sean Millhouse, licensed professional counselor.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Jason. What up?
What up? Yeah, I don't know. I happen to be in a great mood today.
That's great.
Just feeling it. Yeah, I don't know. It's been
Yeah.
a great day, great week. And this is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about. So,
Does it please you to talk about it?
It does, actually. It pleases me to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, people pleasing. People pleasing is I feel like a huge, like it comes up all the time in different ways in the work that I do. And then of course, walking around the world, I see it also. And it just sticks out to me. It sticks out as like I get it, and I used to be more of that kind of a person, but also I can see how destructive it is in people's lives and people's relationships. And so
For sure.
with the frequency at which it comes up in my work, I figured we'd dig into it, kind of see what it's all made of.
For sure. Knowing that we were talking about this topic today, it was just funny because it was my last session and it came up several times with a client just organically.
Really?
And so it was like, all right, yeah, it does come up a lot in different ways, but it just, I thought, oh, that's fun. The universe is always clocking.
Yeah. I mean, as a full-time private practice therapist, I see 20 plus clients a week, and this comes up 2, 3, 4 times, sometimes even more throughout the week. It just seems to be kind of baked into our culture or something. Like I don't really get it, but I've figured let's dive in and kind of see maybe why.
Yeah. I have lots of thoughts on it too, so let's
awesome.
go.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do a basic definition just for anybody who's listening. People pleasing, we can talk about it as a behavioral pattern where people prioritize the needs, desires, and comfort of others over their own, often at the expense of their own well-being. Sometimes it can look like being overly agreeable or avoiding conflict. Hi, avoiding conflict over here. Maybe apologizing for it's my thing. We'll get into this. This is my experience with people pleasing is avoiding conflict. So sorry, I continue. So avoiding conflict, maybe apologizing frequently, or even neglecting your own needs and values to maintain harmony or be liked. So we don't rock the boat. We just want everything to be okay. What's the phrase? We go along to get along. So that's what this kind of look like. But I think it's important too. Like it's not always pathological. Like in moderation, it's connective, right? It keeps us caring about each other and taking care of each other. It's like a kind of a social glue. But when it becomes compulsive or chronic, or, and this is the big one for me, like this is where I see it with my clients a lot, is when it's tied to self-worth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it can cause things like burnout, like we talked about last time, resentment, or even something that we call identity diffusion, which is where like
Mhm.
I don't understand where my wants and needs and feelings end and yours begin. I don't really know who I am or what I need in my life. So I know we talked about it a little bit, but like, would you consider yourself a people pleaser?
I mean, I've definitely reformed significantly
Reformed?
from many years. But I was thinking about this before this episode today. We've talked a lot about how you are a Libra and I am a Leo.
Mm.
And the thing about being a Leo is we're constantly holding two things. One is I want everyone to adore me. And I
No,
feel like I
stop.
should be adored. Well, it's just a great
You
feeling to be
are kind of
adored,
adorable. I
right?
will say you are kind of
Oh,
adorable.
well, okay. I mean, that wasn't fishing, but thanks. I'm not going to fight it. But see, the other part of it, though, is that I think we also have this cognizance of to be adorable is to be pleasing. And
Mm,
if I'm not pleasing people
mm,
and I'm not, if the spotlight's on me and I'm not doing my part, then I'm
yeah.
failing.
Oh
And
wow.
so it's a really kind of twisted thing that I have to lean into the parts where I really like. I love making people happy. I
Sure.
love
Sure.
pleasing people, but I
Hmm.
also have gone to a place where it's like I love myself and my worth more.
Yeah.
And so if
Yeah.
something gets in the way of that, then I know it's artificial, which I'm sure
Yeah.
we're going to get more and more into.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're probably above average maybe on the having done our work spectrum, being both therapists and being both in our 40s slash 25. Um, I mean, because you're right. Like at this point in my life, like I know my own worth, and I know I love myself, and I know what I feel and what I need, and I'm not in more and more situations. I'm not willing to compromise that. I'm willing
Mhm.
to negotiate, but I'm not willing to compromise. Not willing to give that up. But that was very much something that I learned in my family growing up, and I think like growing up with criticism can do this. It
Mm.
can program somebody to then become overly critical, kind of install that criticism tape in their brains, and then really start to, and this is a term that's kind of come about a little bit more, but I hear clients use it a little bit more often now, is gaslight themselves.
Yes.
Right, they'll have a thought or a feeling, and they'll recognize a need, and they'll immediately shut it down or question it or undermine it because somebody else has also expressed a need, and so theirs automatically has to become second. That is absolutely what I learned growing up. It
For
was,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny too that you kind of mentioned the growing up part. All roads lead back to growing up Catholic. And honestly, I just think religion. I talk a lot with clients about
yeah,
how when we are raised with this sense of you need to do everything you can to please God
yeah.
or you will go to hell. I mean, that's a lot of religions paint that picture.
You're right.
How
Yeah,
do people
yeah.
not walk away with a chronic fear of not being enough and pleasing enough
Mhm.
and, constantly being under that microscope? It's
Yeah,
really daunting.
yeah. It totally is. I think part of the criticism I experienced was being the oldest child. I was always
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
told to look out for and set the example for my younger siblings, my younger brothers. And I think that really like it did two things. Is it partly like built some intense self-awareness, which I think is a superpower of mine, kind of walking around in the world, but then it also built a huge track of self-criticism. And so I had to really, really unlearn that, undo that. Um, but the empathy part, like I know I mentioned it early on, but like that's the piece that I feel like is really important. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you like, do you ever see clients trying to walk the line, or maybe you yourself walk the line between like having empathy for someone, but also then like bordering on people pleasing or kind of heading down
Oh
that
my
road?
gosh, all the time, all the
Yeah.
time. And I also before I fully go into that, I really want to also speak to, I have such empathy for eldest children.
Mm,
I
thank
see
you.
it all
I
the time in
appreciate
my
it.
work. I really, 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 well,
Yeah.
it's just only two of us, but my
Hmm.
sister's the oldest, I'm the baby, and
Right.
we have experiences that really show that. I
Mhm.
definitely want to do a whole episode on birth order and all that stuff one day,
Yeah.
because it's
Yep.
such juicy, interesting stuff. But
Oh
I
yeah.
digress. I think it is a fine line because
Hmm.
of, I think why not try to make the world a better place? I think that that's a really lovely idea. It's
Hmm.
when it comes at our expense
Hmm.
personally
Hmm.
that it then becomes detrimental. You have expectations that you set about what you hope that person will get out of something you do for them. And
Yeah.
then if they don't respond in a certain way, you might think, oh God, I failed. I didn't do it right. They didn't respond
Right.
how I thought they would, which is
Right.
such a mixture of things. So it's really complicated.
I feel like empathy is, and this is for me. This is like a slippery sort of subtopic. Like I don't really know if it can be taught or how it can be taught, or if you're
Mm.
sort of born with it and it's role model, then you learn it, or whatever it might be, right? But I feel like empathy is really about like understanding other people's feelings and
Yeah.
having consideration for them. But where we cross over into that unhealthy part, the people pleasing part, is when we start disowning our own feelings in service
Yes.
of somebody else's, right? Would you say that's kind of like the line?
100%. Yeah. The
Yeah.
minute you discount yourself, you're going against the whole point.
Right. Right. And growing up in a family that didn't have a whole lot of emotional communication, like I wasn't even encouraged to to express a feeling and express a need. It was I was behaving and I was told to shut that down because something else is more important, right? And so then that's where that kind of that I keep calling it a track that got installed, but truly it became a self-critical track.
Yeah.
Like it was just playing in my head where I'd be questioning all of my own feelings and all of my own needs, and that was just not a healthy place to be. Thank God for therapy and grad school and all the
Yeah.
other lessons that I had to learn, right? This upended relationships of mine. This has been a huge sort of life lesson for me. So
Oh, yeah, repression is real, and we
yeah.
have a world full of people who are deeply repressed because of all the things you just mentioned about how it
Mhm.
wasn't really nurtured or encouraged. And
Yeah.
so they don't know. And sometimes it's just about you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, it's a life lesson, a life experience you have to sort of live through. So,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Something else that I think another way that this kind of shows up, and I have a little bit of experience with too, is where we do lose our sense of self in relationships. People pleasers
Hmm.
can do that, and I see this a lot with my clients too, right? Where we sometimes we call it the white knight syndrome, where
Hmm.
someone is constantly rescuing somebody who's not functioning well, not performing their life well, has lots and lots of sort of emotional needs. And so that person shows up and they recognize that and they feel useful and they feel
Yeah.
helpful. And then they start doing and then overdoing and then trying to predict. And like you said, when they don't get it right, or when that other person isn't then happy with their behaviors, they start to feel like they're failing. And that
Yes.
then just becomes we might call that enmeshment in psychology, or codependency, right? Well, we kind of see those types of things.
Savior
But that's
complexes.
savior complexes. Yeah, yeah. Those are really tough. That was a really tough lesson for me to learn. I think I don't know if it was a savior complex so much, but it was trying to predict and trying to overdo and losing myself. This is kind of friendships that I've had, past relationships that I've had, even my marriage was, there was still a lot of undoing. I mean, I've been with Andrew now for 15 years, and so still had to learn how to undo some of that stuff early on. And what it came down to for me was almost feeling selfish. Like that was the feeling I had to lean into when I was insisting on a
Okay.
need or expressing a feeling or a need. Was it feels selfish. This might resonate with people who feel like they are people pleasers. If you're listening or watching, like, you having a need is not selfish. I'm going to say that again. You having a need is not selfish. Like, that's seriously, that's the biggest.
Yeah.
I say this to my clients all the time, and I will literally say that again. I'll say, I'm going to say that again for all the people in the back, which there's nobody else in the room. That particular lesson having a need and feeling selfish, like that's the feeling that I think a lot of my clients have to push against. And I think another way this shows up, I know you have experience with this too, but I am starting to have like a visceral reaction to this when I see it out in the world. This is not, I know you know what I'm going to say. It's chronic apologizing. I mean, and we live, like, there's some debate around this, but we are, I think, technically in the South, right? There's a lot of Southern culture where we live.
It is significantly stronger here.
And it is very, very strong. I grew up in the North. I grew up in Chicago. I didn't see it nearly as much. And I will say, and this is not to throw anybody under the bus, but I do see women, and it's probably a cultural
significantly worse with women.
Significantly. I see women apologizing for
existing,
taking up space, like being a person out in the world. Like, I feel like I will catch a random apology and I'm like, why? What did you do? Like, I want to ask them, like, why are you and I've actually done that too.
Oh, I do it all the time. Oh yeah, when it shows up at my sessions, because you're absolutely right. I see
sessions for sure. That's
but also the real. Okay, get it.
I'm just talking about on the street. Like, I will tell women, there's zero need to apologize right now. You are good.
Yeah, I'm always like, nothing wrong happened. Why are you apologizing? And they're like, oh, but I didn't. I don't. It's like, that's like, I'm sorry that you thought I'm sorry that you're sorry, but like, I'm not sorry in a way that I did something wrong. I'm sorry that that's your experience. And I really wish you can embrace your own truth and know that it's totally fine.
Yeah. But I think this is another piece of like, so that self-criticism, like if it goes on long enough and takes deep enough root, it becomes this internalized sense of shame, which then is externalized through this apologizing. Like it's I'm embarrassed for even being a person. I'm sorry. It's really like it makes me cringe now. And like, I consistently push back on it, but it's
when it's that severe,
that pervasive,
you can feel it in a person when they are, because it's almost like, I mean, I feel like if I like got a feather and I like tapped against them, like they would just collapse and be like, like
it's in their body language, right?
Yes.
It's how they shrink or how they dodge people's personal space, or how they,
Which, so I mean, I know this is going to lead us one day, and we're going to have to do a very extensive episode just on self-worth, because that's at the root of all of this.
Okay.
What is that? What was that?
Dramatic pause.
Okay. I was
just
like,
dramatic.
Are you struggling with that?
It's just a dramatic pause. No.
Okay.
I love that topic. No, I love that topic.
It's everything. It's the center of my work. Period. But anyway, I just like that's what it all comes. I'm sorry, spoiler. It comes down to self-worth.
It kind of does, kind of all over the place. Yeah.
Anyway,
so I wouldn't be an episode of Collect Your Thoughts without mentioning our favorite guru, Brene Brown. But the self-worth thing made me think of it. Right? She's got this thing about belonging versus fitting in. I know you've read this. I know you've contended with this before. Yeah. You think, can you speak on it a little bit? Like, how would you, how do you define that, or what, like, how do you talk about that particular dichotomy, to bring a $5 word in?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, well, so yes, to start off, Queen Brene, the book that is all about this is Braving the Wilderness. And it is excellent. It's phenomenal. Highly recommend it. Period. Period.
Awesome.
Because I'm hip.
So not hip by saying that.
How dare
so unhip.
Now all of our younger viewers or listeners, because I'm sure there's so many, are going to not think I'm hip, and I'm not pleasing them.
It's our target audience, I think, is 16 to 19. I think that's right. That's
we're going for the alpha crowd. We're not even screw Gen Z. We're going with alpha. No.
I can't even with that. Oh my God.
Anyway, no. So absolutely, belonging versus fitting in. You know, to me, it is all about saying when you belong somewhere, you are coming with all of yourself, and you are not having to edit yourself down and trying to fit a mold. You being is enough, versus to fit in is to wiggle your way into a certain idea, concept, identity that you or others are putting out there as this is what you have to do in order to be sufficient.
Right. It's conforming, right?
Conforming.
It's really at the expense of your own identity, your own feelings, your own interests, your own needs. Like that's really what that fitting in is. You're absolutely right on that. And I feel like belonging, to me, the word, and I know this is maybe a through line in a lot of the stuff that we do too, is authenticity. I can show up
Absolutely.
as my full self, my real self, and I can be accepted for that. And that's how I feel like I belong, right? For exactly who I am. And even like, even the belonging piece, I think she goes even further. Doesn't she talk about belonging to yourself first?
That's what Bringing the Wellness is all about. Is
that's right.
You
Yeah,
have
that's
to
what I thought.
start there. Because if you don't, and oh my God, I love this topic because
I have goosebumps literally talking about this. Like it does.
Seriously,
it makes me excited. Yeah.
It is everything. When I read that, it was such a big piece of like, oh yeah, like if
you get
you
it
don't
now?
belong to yourself, and I say this with clients all the time, if you don't belong and love yourself, then you can't be surprised why you get shaken by any little thing in your life. Because if you do hold yourself and know yourself and believe in yourself, you are always safe because you have a home base wherever you go.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's a complete game changer. I don't know when, like I feel like I'm boasting a little bit, but I don't know when or how this happened truly, but like this is this might have been a meme that I sent to you the other day or something. And you, like, the way you responded to it, like, made me realize like that is what happened. But like, I feel like I do finally, for some reason, belong to myself first and foremost. And so when I walk into a room, I think people know that, they feel that, or at least I do. I'm comfortable almost anywhere I go because inside here is home, right? I know my worth, I know my value, and I'm just confident in that self-love or whatever that is. So I think that is what that is. And so again, I'm not trying to like be the cool guy who, is role modeling this, but that's what it does feel like at this point. I've attained that. So it feels fantastic.
Yeah. It's a really, I think, it's really hard to believe it because it feels like it's counterculture to everything else that we have learned about. Always put others first. Always make sure that you're doing this. Like, it's just so many honoring systems that are, good or bad or neutral. And what I've definitely realized is that, for the longest time in my own work is that, my personal work is that I think I kind of came to the conclusion finally. It was like I had gone every which path except for the one of believing that it starts with me. And right, which is, I'm a therapist, yay.
Right. We're human too. We're human too. Exactly. We all start somewhere.
We didn't get the instruction manual either. But then when I was like, okay, fine, like it was almost like an act of resistance, like, fine, I'll just decide to kind of believe that maybe I am enough. And then the more I leaned into it, I was like, oh, it does feel a lot better. Like,
it does. It
like,
really
when
does.
I take myself seriously and don't question my worth and like every little thing that I do or say, it doesn't sting. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hang on like it did. It's not perfect. It's a practice. Everything's a practice. But if you lean into that practice, if it is your practice, you're not going to want to go back once you finally cross that threshold.
I will bet too that it didn't cost you as much as you thought it was going to cost you to do that.
Oh, it's like anything when it comes to knowing that's something you want really badly is going to be really hard work. Is a lot of times the time that you put in putting off that work is always harder than just going for it. I mean, it's that classic, the time that you did putting off that thing, you could have maybe gone there already if you had just started at that point in which maybe you were resistant. And that's a really hard thing to contend with. But once you get out of your own way, it's kind of crazy. It works out.
It's a hard lesson to learn, but I think it gets easier each time you push yourself towards that goal or through that discomfort. I think it does get easier each time. So I can tell you, I witnessed some of this growth in you over the last 4 years, and it's one of the coolest changes I've ever seen in another human. Like, honest to God, it's been really amazing. I know I've said that to you before, but this is being recorded for all time. And it's been awesome. It's been awesome.
When we sign off, you go, by the way, that was bullshit.
No, it was not. And this is not.
I was people pleasing, and I'm so mad about it. No, just kidding. Thank you. That sincerely is very kind.
Yeah, truly. So something I thought was interesting is this concept that I run into on a weekly basis in my counseling practice. I don't think this concept was ever really introduced to me in graduate school as like a thing. Like, maybe it was tied to an issue here or a dynamic there, but it was never like, you're going to run into a people pleaser like 1 out of 5 times. Nobody ever said this to me. Did you get any introduction to this when you were studying counseling or like in your early, like, I don't know, even your internship years or whatever?
No, I would definitely say the closest that I can recall is maybe in going over dependent personality disorder and talking about how that can be a piece of that. But I would definitely say the idea and real like deconstruction of people pleasing was much more in the self-help field as opposed to like the clinical field. So if you indulged in that, there was definitely lots of books about that. But I think that's the thing about I think with the most recent few decades is that psychology and pop culture of self-help have sort of merged much, much more closely together.
The Venn diagram is a lot thicker. Yep.
Yeah, because I just, there's exposure. There's so many reasons why, but that's changed it big time. Social media, I bring that up every week, was also, I think, a game changer in talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Bringing behaviors like people pleasing into the awareness, the more popular awareness, right, has now got more people talking about it or trying to work against it, or, at least developing awareness around it, which is actually pretty cool to see that. But I thought I would also just kind of tie it back to at least some of this, some psychology. What I didn't even really realize was like, this was part of my degree, was marriage and family therapy. And we studied attachment theory. We looked at all of those early things, like in terms of relationship dynamics, and this is embedded in attachment theory. I had no idea. Like I said, I don't think we've ever used this phrase, people pleasing, but where it comes in is the inner belief in the anxious attachment style. Is if I'm good enough or I'm helpful enough, I won't be abandoned. I won't be rejected. Right. That's this guy. I had that track for a long time. If I'm just do enough for my partner, then I'll be good enough to be loved. That's difficult. It's difficult to admit, but then also like live through and have to undo. And then it's also, I can see the difficulty with my clients these days too, is in their anxious attachment styles, they have this interior belief. You've seen this as well?
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, same in terms of, actually, do I have it in? Oh, I do. I actually have, all roads for me lead back to Taylor Swift. I do have my pathological people pleaser hat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If you're all watching.
That's a Taylor Swift thing?
Yeah. She has a lyric that's basically, I wouldn't marry me either. I wouldn't marry me either. Pathological people pleaser. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, anyway, and then she, of course, she's smart. She makes merch off of it. Yeah, for me, I really look at it outside of course, the context I gave about the Catholic Church and religion. I really think a lot of this really rears its head in middle school and high school because there's just such a higher awareness around who is attractive, who is popular, who's
that's when that awareness starts to develop.
I used to be obsessed with wanting to be popular, not because I
Same,
liked
dude.
the saddest
Yeah.
necessarily. I mean, of
Yeah.
course I wanted it, but I just
Yeah.
really wanted people to love me. I wanted people to like me. And so
Uh-huh.
when I felt like I was trying so hard to like be that way and it wasn't getting me anywhere, and sometimes
Mhm.
it was just me genuinely being me, and I thought, oh, that should be pleasing enough. And then when that's not enough either, it just makes you go, oh, I guess I'm not enough.
Mhm.
Okay, wow, I guess I need to do something different. I need to change this, I need to alter this, silence this, whatever. And
Yeah.
yes, with clients it is just the same. I mean, it's really tough. And I definitely think uh, you know, Southern culture, I think, reinforces it. There's a lot of,
Mm.
I think it's looked upon as like a positive sense of community to fit in. But how much do we focus on extending the circle to just say we belong, all belong, no matter
Mm.
what? That
Yeah.
you may be sharp and twisty, but you can
Mhm.
come to my like soft and doughy self, and like we'll make it work.
Mm. Yeah.
We don't think about that enough. And I see a lot of people struggle because of it, and I know that they reinforce it and they don't want to reinforce it, but they do. And it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. There was always a little voice in my head too that I think suspected that I was different. I think I always kind of felt different, right?
100 million
I mean,
percent.
I know you had a similar experience, but it was a growing suspicion starting in middle school, and then junior high, and then high school, and then at some point I knew I wasn't the same as all of my straight friends, my straight male friends. And I think that underlying belief kind of helped fuel that people pleasing tendency, right? If I could just be cool enough, fit in enough, do all the right things, whatever, then I won't be rejected. And maybe zooming out just for a quick second, like this fear that we have of rejection and abandonment, this is our deepest, darkest fears as humans.
Yeah.
We are wired to be social, wired for connection, and any even suspected threat of rejection or abandonment is enough to cause the haywire, cause the alarms to go off, and for us to start to be reactive,
Yeah.
unless we're aware and unless we're, working within the system instead of like just reacting to it. So I
Dude.
just wanted to say that just as a sort of
Yeah.
baseline.
Well,
Yeah.
and the thing is, you're
Mm,
unlocking so many things, because when
mm,
you brought it back to, that realization that you weren't straight
yeah.
is, for me, for years, and I still have to catch it,
Mm,
is I wanted to, when I started even embracing my queerness, it was still about, I want to be a positive version of it that people will go, oh, they're not so bad. Like,
mm.
because growing up, I think, if you growing up in the 90s and early aughts, there was this, I think this, you could tell that things were shifting, but like there was still huge, huge, huge disapproval of
Oh yeah.
gay rights, the idea of gay
Mm,
marriage, any of that stuff. Like it was very much like, you stay in the peripheral, do not get in the mainstream. But then
uh-huh.
once people kind of like, were brave and fought for a lot of things, I think there was this whole, how to be like the golden role model gay person that is very heteronormative, that is very
Oh yeah.
like, conditioned to be as palatable as possible. And I mean, in college, I definitely felt that with, it's a lot of people are always surprised to hear this. And I honestly am too. I was in a fraternity, and I absolutely was conscientious of, I want to be like, for anybody that might not be down with that, I don't want them to turn against me and me be a bad messenger for this entire group of people. I took that on my shoulders because I just
Yeah.
wanted people to like
I'll,
us as a
I think a lot of us do.
population.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that this, younger millennials, Gen Z, Alpha, whatever, I'm really hoping that that is shifting some, or has shifted some, where that's not
Uh-huh.
something they think about as much, because you do see, I think you see all kinds of things in culture of messy gays, smart gays, dumb gays, villain gays, hero
Sure.
gays,
Sure.
and all the other,
We like to
letters of the
simplify. We
alphabet.
like to categorize. Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah, but
course.
like that was absolutely something I carried with me, is I just want to show them they don't have to be afraid of me because I want
Yeah.
to belong so badly.
Yeah. We have to be put
It's
together. We have to
traumatic.
be
Like, I'm telling you, that's a little T
stylish.
trauma right there.
No, for sure. I mean, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. All those things, all those sort of expectations that get communicated to queer people about how they should be, how they should show up, how, what kind of relationships they're going to be in or whatever. All that stuff is, it starts to get under your skin, and then it starts to change your behavior towards like trying to modify yourself for everyone around you, which is the essence of people pleasing, right? That's exactly what we're talking about. Just for the record, I didn't say I was different because I was gay when I started this. It's because I was Polish.
I'm Polish too. So
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Of course. That's what I was talking about.
that we're both Polish?
That I'm Polish. Yes. Yeah. No, not at all. No. All right. I take crust.
Actually, Jason and his super hot wife Veronica are about to have their 7th baby.
Veronica. I like to call her Veronica. Oh my God. Okay.
Deranged.
We're going to continue with some tying it back to psychology. Also, like you said, little T trauma we can talk about this through the trauma lens too, right? This is exactly so one way that we've talked about it, that we've sort of developed. Most people have heard, most lay people who are not counselors have heard fight, flight, or freeze as a response to trauma, right? Response to danger, a response to threat, whatever it might be. But this fourth way has really only been coined. I don't know exactly when, but Pete Walker is his name. And he talks about it as a fawn response. So fawning it's a strategy. It's an appeasement in order to feel like we stay safe, right? And this can look like extreme people pleasing. It's really about denying everything that I might be thinking or feeling or needing, and really just going all out, all overboard to make sure that you're okay, or make sure that the perceived threat is completely taken care of and completely happy. I don't see this so much with clients, but I do see it occasionally in some of the couples work that I do. And it's typically when it's a conditioned, I'll say it's more like a conditioned response where the people pleasing becomes extreme, where it becomes like a habit, or it becomes a dynamic where there's one maybe sort of narcissistic or very self-centered member of the partnership, and then the other person adopts these more fawning behaviors in order to just sort of keep the peace in the house. It's not great. We might even use the word toxic in terms of the type of environment that is, or dynamic that is. Yeah.
Like I in grad school we learned about fight, flight, and freeze, which honestly at that time freeze wasn't one that was talked about as much as fight and flight, right? But then really fawn was not something that really crossed my knowledge until I'm going to give a shout out to our girl Rebecca from the collective. Is because she's our our trauma specialist, in my opinion. She knows her shit. And so she mentioned fawning. I was like, oh, that's so real. And so once I dug into that, I honestly, it comes up a lot in my work with clients where you can tell when they become overly apologetic about, well, I know that the person that abused me, I know they were struggling, and like they start rationalizing why they did what they did,
and gaslighting their own experiences.
Yes. And so that's why I'm like, okay, have you heard of fawning? And most people, honestly, a lot of the clients I work with do not. They have not heard of fawning. And so they're always kind of like, oh, wow. Oh, yeah, that's me. And it's really powerful when it like comes full circle for them in that way.
Yeah. I've had a similar reaction where I've introduced that term and people are like, I don't even know. I've never even heard that. So hopefully it's becoming part of the more popular lexicon, but I know it's still a new concept for a lot of people. So especially common people, PTSD or traumatic environments, or even just small T sort of chronic, like you mentioned. One other thing I thought worth mentioning is, we've talked about how a lot of these things are present in women or in the LGBTQ community. But we don't talk I don't think we talk enough about like the concept of, we call it parentification, where right, children have to, and we see this a lot maybe in like movies or TV or things like that, but it's kids who live in sort of a traumatic environment who have to then become the parent in the house. They have to become the doer, the responsible one. And I mean, it's obviously a very difficult situation for them to be in, but when they grow up with essentially like emotionally unpredictable, or like we talked about, critical or even narcissistic caregivers, parents, or whomever, the reinforced belief becomes love for me is conditional on my usefulness, on my ability to be responsible in this house.
Yeah.
That's tough. Like that will break my heart. I tell my partner this all the time. Like when we're watching a show, and there's actually a show that we're sort of neck deep in right now. Whenever they bring kids into it, and then the kids have to start acting like not kids, and they have to like, it just wounds me in a way. It's
a loss of innocence.
Feel it. It is. Yeah. It's a loss of innocence. And you can just feel the trauma through the screen. But then when I experience it with my client base, like it's that much more visceral too. So,
well, I think
that one. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to step on.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember when I going to college, when I like met other people, outside of where I grew up, it was really so freaking eye-opening to talk with other people about their experiences. And I met so many people who were, 18, 19 years old at that point, who were in very parentified relationships with their family, their parents. And it gave me such deep gratitude for my experience that I didn't realize, like, as much as I knew bad things happen, like I didn't realize how normal it was for that to be the case, for parentification to be so real. And it gave me so much gratitude. I remember after a really deep conversation I had with some like new friends, I remember emailing my parents and being like, thank you guys for like, I just like, I'm realizing I knew I was lucky and loved, but damn, I really see it now. And thank you for like just giving me such a great, like, life. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. It really helped instill some gratitude in you for
so much. Yeah.
The parents that you had, the environment that you had. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't perfect, and no one is.
Nobody is.
But like, it definitely makes you go, oh shit, I maybe need to like cool off when I'm like being harsh with them, Yeah. Like, don't be a little shit. Don't be a little baby. Life is hard. They didn't get an instruction manual, whatever.
Where this is the second time you've mentioned that. Where is that fucking instruction manual? Does somebody have it and is not sharing it?
Well, I want to take digs and be like, it's a PDF. How do I open it? But like,
that's
no,
funny.
It's I don't know. I think it's written in probably a foreign text, like ancient foreign text that like
ancient.
Both like probably maybe aliens. I don't know. Anyway,
Sumerian. It's in a scroll in a cave somewhere. We don't know. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. What's the antithesis, do you think, to people pleasing? What's like the polar opposite?
I mean,
yeah, it's kind of a tough.
Because I think it's sort of like, I used to think, as when I would think of polar opposites, I would think for a long time, I used to think the opposite of love is hate. But then, Dr. Taylor Swift said the opposite of love isn't hate, it is indifference.
It's apathy.
And,
right.
And so so for me, I was like, well, initially I was like, oh, is it being kind of like, yeah, I'm riding in with my leather jacket and I'm a rebel. I do what I want. I don't give a fuck. But no, that's like swinging in the wrong direction. I really do think it's sort of it's detached in the healthiest of ways of saying, hey, that's you and that's okay. But I got me and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sweat it. It's, it's fine. Like, we're good.
So I feel like that's the healthy middle, or at least that's the way that I talk about it. I do actually agree with you. I think that is the antithesis to that. That is the healthy opposite. The way that I talk about it with clients is I try and swing that pendulum as far in the other direction. And so I use a really clinical term when I talk about this. I say, can you be a selfish asshole?
That's great.
Like, what would the situation look like if you really did not give two shits about anybody else's wants or needs, and you really just dialed into what you're feeling and what you need, and you insisted on that in any given situation, right? I'm really, like, obviously this is not healthy either, but it's really swinging it in the other direction just to demonstrate, like, this is also possible. And this is what some people, obviously the far minority, but this is the way some people also navigate the world, is they walk around and they just insist and they don't give any consideration, right? Those are the people that we call selfish assholes. We don't like those people.
Right.
But can you imagine, just for a moment, in X situation, right? Can you just imagine what it would be like to go, well, actually, I do want that last slice of birthday cake, and I'm not going to give it to my aunt who's always loud about wanting more birthday cake, or whatever the silly example is, right? Whatever the situation is. So I just like to introduce this idea to kind of like push people in the other direction. But obviously, like you said, like, it's not actually the healthiest opposite. Like, what we're really looking for is like, can I dial into my own feelings, my own needs, and then also express those things, and then start to negotiate with the people around me, right? Consider and negotiate, so that we're all getting at least some of what we want or need.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
I have an analogy that I use with clients all the time that goes all the way back to being a freshman in high school theater. So we would get told all the time by our director about projection, so those who aren't in theater or whatever is, they talk a lot about, we didn't do like, nowadays, like, I think a lot of modern high schools, they like, have microphones attached to them and all this stuff. But back in the day, we had to project. You just had to be loud enough for the theater. And so that would make you really uncomfortable, because it'd be like, I feel like I'm shouting. And so our director would say, here's the thing. It's easier to go big and then I can pull you back versus trying to pull you out of the stillness and quietness. So I see that with clients and saying, it's going to feel awkward. You're going to feel like you're being too much.
Yes.
But when you find it, we can pull you back. Like, I will be here to help you, pull that back. And there will be other natural elements that will pull you back, but you have to sometimes overshoot to find your perfect middle.
No, I love that. It's a great sort of illustration of that particular example I was giving. But I thought it might be useful to talk about, like, maybe some filters, maybe some like back pocket tools. I like to use that phrase, back pocket tools, that people, like our listeners, can really just walk around with and maybe use as a check-in for themselves, so that they're making sure that maybe they're not people pleasing as much as maybe they've historically done, or they can help loved ones, right, who they might notice this behavior and they can help them. So one of them is fantastic. I love this particular one. It's the 3-question filter. Have you heard of this before?
I don't think I did until I saw it in our notes.
Yeah. As I was doing just a little bit of research around this, like, I remember hearing this in another context, but like, it was sort of put succinctly. So before just complying, before just saying yes, you can ask yourself these 3 questions. 1, do I want to? Great. That's a great check-in, right? Or you're asking yourself, what am I feeling, and what do I want? 2, do I have the capacity, right? Am I actually able and willing in this moment? Do I have the energy? Do I have the time, the resources? So do I have the capacity? And then 3, and this one stings a little bit, but it's really accurate. Am I saying yes out of fear?
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. Right?
That's
you could
tough.
feel the sting on that one?
Oh, yeah. Because sometimes you don't realize how much you're doing it until you really investigate it.
Yeah. For me, that was going along to get along. My fear was conflict. My fear was some sort of discord between me and this other person.
My fear was being left behind.
Left behind, right?
Yeah.
Rejected. It's all comes back to rejection and abandonment, like we were talking about. But I think those are great. So do I want to? Do I have the capacity? And am I saying yes out of fear? This is a really great sort of 3-question filter. Another one, this one is a little bit like, this is I'll bring it back to your comment on practice, having some sort of practice around this, is practicing dealing with others' disappointment. You just call it disappointment practice, right? So learning to tolerate other people's discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really hard. That was
Well,
really hard
because
for me. It's really hard for a lot.
section.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a section of distress tolerance that I talk about with clients all the time.
Say more about
It,
that. I don't know if everybody knows what distress tolerance
yeah,
is.
so distress tolerance is essentially saying how much can you tolerate distress in your life? Like, what is
Mm,
your maximum battery or bandwidth for being
mm,
able to handle really stressful things? So, of course, I think people pleasing and feeling like
mm.
you're failing people, that can be such a huge like drain on a person
Very
to, oh
distressful.
no,
Yeah.
I'm disappointing them because I'm not leaning into what I always did to please them.
Uh-huh.
Oh gosh, I feel like I'm a bad person. Like it's this whole just tumble,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
really rough.
How do you help people like build that tolerance? Do you have a thing that you do? I mean, it's probably dependent on each
It really,
particular
yeah.
client, but yeah.
I like to, I really do like to remind people, like when people are bending over upside down to try
Uh-huh.
and make other people happy, and especially if it's for somebody that really does not seem to give 2 or 3 shits about how hard that person is trying to make that person happy. I will say you need to think about it this way. I don't know how this makes you feel, so and so, but that person, they're not losing sleep over your people pleasing. They're
Yeah.
not sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that so and so is feeling so stressed out about making me happy. No, they are living their potentially selfish or healthily detached
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, when I can point that out to people, it is sort of this like, oh, wow, I guess I like didn't realize like I'm suffering in my own hell, my own personal hell that I have like created for myself.
Yeah.
And how can I remember that this is on me, this is my life, and no one else
Mhm.
gets to live it or experience it, good or bad.
Yeah. So bringing that other perspective, that other possibility, that the like we talked about, like the way some people live, like you that is also possible for you. You can also insist on your
Yeah.
own feelings and needs, and it's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
One way that I like to do this too is I remind people that even if they're uncomfortable, they're okay,
Correct. Yeah.
right? You can experience distress and it not be at 100. It not mean that you're going to die, that you're going to separate, that you're going to whatever the worst fears are. Like there can be a little bit of self-talk that happens in those moments to go, okay, all I'm doing is uncomfortable, it's awkward, I'm gonna be okay, I'm gonna be whatever that sort of self-talk is,
Yeah.
right? That to me, like that helps, I think, moment to moment to moment to go, yep, this is just part of the learning, this is me redrawing boundaries, this is me insisting, this is whatever the right, whatever the sort of the underlying mantra can be.
Well, and it's essentially, relating to, I think exercise is always one of the easiest metaphorical parallels I
Mm.
can create is,
Yeah.
when you start exercising, it feels good, but then you also get sore and you also have to learn your limits. And that doesn't mean you're not doing it right necessarily, but more importantly, it's a sign of your muscles breaking down to get stronger.
Uh-huh.
And that is the same when we feel discomfort with
Uh-huh.
trying things that are serving our best interests. It is part of the process. You get through it faster each and every time you continue to practice pleasing yourself and what you really need
Right.
over everyone else.
Right. I feel like what you're describing is you could even say this to yourself. Something like saying no to other people is saying yes to me. That's what you're
Correct.
describing, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is good. That's okay. You're that's allowed. Sometimes
Oh,
it's
it's
really just permission that we have to give, right? But you're allowed
yeah.
to say no to someone else so you can say yes to yourself.
Well, and if
So
you're
yeah.
saying no, if you like,
Mm,
let's say you agree to do something that you wouldn't normally do or don't want to
yeah.
do, I think situational people
Uh-huh.
pleasing, like
Uh-huh.
sometimes it's called compromise. Sometimes we do
Yeah.
things because we know it means something to someone we care about.
Right.
The difference is that needs to be occasional, not the regular programming.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Not the majority of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe that's worth saying too, just out loud, just for anybody who's not really sure, right? Is that there's no secret formula. There's no exact percentage where this, right? There are some days, some circumstances, some relationships where you're going to give more. And then some days where you're going to take more, or, relationships where
Yeah.
you're going to get more. Fantastic.
Yep.
Right. It's just making sure that there's that balance there. So yeah. Hey, thanks, Libra. Balance. Yeah. Um, Another way that I encourage clients to think about this too is, this goes to one of my favorite sayings about your body and your brain. Have you heard this before? Always listen to your body because it can't lie to you, and never listen to your brain because it's constantly lying to you. I think that's actually from The Body Keeps the Score. If I don't want to quote Vanderkolk without, attributing that correctly, but it's one of my favorite things, because if you do listen to your body, it is telling you that you need something. And this goes right into building distress tolerance. You can check in with yourself and go, or am I feeling tense? Am I feeling awkward? Am I feeling nauseous? Am I feeling whatever it might be, right? That freeze response, or that whatever the visceral body response is to whatever the situation is, to push you to say yes.
Yeah.
You could really acknowledge that and go, hold on a second. Am I doing this out of fear? Am I doing this out of right? And really, really checking in with that. I
mean,
like that.
Yeah, that is, to me, like, the whole checking in with your body thing, to me, is a crucial step with, honestly, any sort of awareness around wanting to make a change in your life. I will always say, like, when I have clients that go, I want to do this differently, but, like, how do I stop myself from fill in the blank?
Right.
And I'll say, well, it starts with your body. Like, how do you feel when you do this? Do your shoulders, start to go up? Does your jaw clench? Does your heart start racing? Does your stomach feel uneasy? Or do you feel loose? Do you feel like, or is it a good anticipation, like a positive nervousness? Like, not all nervousness is bad. And so it's really, I think, about getting to know your body better if you're detached from that, because it's telling you so much if you pay attention.
Yep. And I'll just give just a tiny bit of context for that quote that I used when I said your brain is constantly lying to you. What that really means is our brains interpret the world around us and tell us a story, right? That really serves
We're always forming
us.
a narrative.
Always forming a narrative, always. And is that narrative always true? No, it's not. So question what your thoughts are, right? But listen to your body, because it really can't lie to you. It's telling you something. So
because that's like a soul thing. I feel like to me, intuition isn't. It's not a purely psychological in your brain thing. It really is a mixture of gut instinct. I mean, that's where
we say
gut
the
instinct
word
comes
gut,
from, right?
yes.
Like, I feel uneasy, or I feel so calm in this choice because it really feels right. Like, that is the best feeling. And we need to honor that in ourselves.
For sure. Yeah. One other sort of back pocket takeaway, and this, I'm going to speak directly to everybody who was raised in the South. Nice does not equal kind.
Big one.
There's so much nicing, so much nicing going on, right? Where everyone's denying the reality of the situation, or the hurt feelings, or the awkwardness, or the whatever it might be, just to get along. Like, you get it. I know you get it, but also,
no, this is me emphatically being like, yes, keep on. Yes,
absolutely. Yes. Sometimes the kindest thing that we can do is to be honest about what our feelings are and what our needs are. If we really genuinely care about this relationship, and we genuinely want this person or this situation in our life more often, we need to. We should be responsible to ourselves and the other person to go, actually, I don't like this and I don't want to do it anymore, right? Or actually, that comment hurt my feelings and I'd prefer if you didn't say it that way next time. Statements like that, like, they sound bold or brash or whatever, but
they do.
At the root of them, they're just honest, and they're not, right? They're not rude, but in some subcultures, things like that can be taken as rude. So I'm just giving anybody who's listening and practices nicing people to death all the time. Permission. Like, you have permission to be honest about what you feel and what you need, and to negotiate it with whoever you care about.
Disappointing people is not synonymous with being mean.
Right.
It's so important to know, like, just because you might have done something that was outside of what that person expected or wanted out of a situation,
Yep.
that is not your problem. That is not your problem. If you do
100%.
something like you go against your word, if you essentially are being actually unkind in not choosing more compassionate wording or whatever, then yeah, like, sure. But it does not mean, like, inherently that you are doing something wrong or you're bad.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, nice. Good.
Nice.
I feel like those are some solid takeaways, some solid things
Oh,
to kind
yeah,
of think about or walk around with.
for sure.
Great. Thanks. That was pretty solid, I think.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, now it's time for drum roll. The secret question.
Can't do a drum roll.
It's one of my favorite scenes just as a little aside, the
Yeah.
show Veep on HBO. There's a scene where the guy who takes care of the Veep, Gary, is played by Tony Hale. He's so
great.
awesome.
He's so
But he
great.
goes, he's drum rolling her about to enter the room, and he goes, "Okay, drum roll." And he's like, "Oh, it's not a drum roll." Oh.
It's so
It's the
good.
best. It's the
so
freaking
funny.
best. He's so
Highly
good.
recommend Veep.
Such an excellent
yeah.
physical comic, Tony Hale. Yeah.
Excellent. Award-winning for that
Award
role,
winning.
yes.
Actually, yes. Actually. So, yeah. All right. So, what do you got? What's my secret question today?
Your secret question is, my question is,
Mhm.
do you have anybody currently in your life outside of a client context
Sure.
that you would see as pathological people pleasers? And if so, how do you manage that, work with that, relate with that, knowing what you know about people pleasing?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have like a person that comes to mind. Maybe like a couple of people in my life who have these tendencies, and I recognize them obviously because I have a lot of experience with it myself. But I think the way that I manage it is I call it, and I do this with my clients sometimes too. Like, I almost can't help myself. I'm a therapist, like in my soul. I'm a therapist, so I can't not be a therapist when I walk around. I do have to mitigate that because I'm not everybody's therapist. But what I will do is something that I call holding up the mirror. I just hold up the mirror, right? I'll say something like, "Could you please not treat my friends that way?" Meaning that person who has just said that thing about themselves, right, out of their face, and I ask them not to treat themselves by saying that way, right? So it's stuff like that where I will either hold up the mirror or I will sort of lean into and just bring awareness to whatever that awkwardness is or whatever that pleasing behavior is, and I'll go, you count too. Like, I want your opinion in this moment, or it would help me. Sometimes I turn it back around and I go, it would help me, right? I make it a helpful thing. And I'll say, it would help me if you gave me your opinion. That will help me make up my mind, or something along those lines, right? So it's, yeah, that's my best answer.
That's a great answer. I love that. Yeah.
What about you?
I would definitely say my first thing is, I think part of it is where I'm at in my life. And so I don't have nearly as many people pleasers in it for various reasons.
Yeah.
So thank God. But also, I mean, as you said, it does rear its head every now and then, even with,
Sure.
the healthiest of people. And so when I see that, if it's a private moment, then I can do this regardless. But if it's like maybe around a group of people and I notice that somebody's doing that, I will try to find a quiet moment with them, be like, "Hey, like, is that really what you want? Because I sense
nice.
this from you." And it felt like, I don't know, I got a weird vibe from it.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure you're good and know that, like, if you want to go another direction, I'm like here for it.
So you kind of give permission too, but you also use your therapeutic instincts to maybe investigate some sort of body language, tone of voice, something right? And you're like digging in a little bit, opening that door for them to let their needs be known.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it honestly, because I'm trying not to do that myself.
Yeah.
When I see it in others, I feel both compassion, and I want to rescue them from it. I want to
Mm,
be like, hey, come to this side. It's
yeah.
so much nicer. Like, and
Yeah.
you deserve to be here because we all do.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
You're a good guy.
Oh, thanks. No,
You are. I merely
there's
mean
me
that. That's
being
nice.
like, oh, thanks. Oh, I'm shaking onto myself. That's really kind. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's do some shout outs.
Shouty outy outies.
What do we got? What do you got? You want to go first or want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
Okay. First off, I'm shouting out two very important people in my life. Their names are Harry and Ella.
They are some of the most beautiful people
They
I've ever
are.
met.
They are.
And when
They're
I
a
say
little bit
people,
hairy. They're a little bit hairy, but they're my dogs. For anybody who doesn't know, they're my dogs, Ella and Harry. They're just amazing. Like they're just such good, sweet dogs. I just love them. They bring me so much joy. Um, Ella's just our sweet old lady, and Harry is
she's an
just our
angel.
yeah. She's the best. She's just the best, and she's mostly deaf and mostly blind, and navigates by sense now, and it's still adorable.
It
She's
really
still
is.
yeah. And if we ever move, it's gonna mess her up because she's gonna have to learn a whole new place by by her nose. But hey, well, that's I guess
Oh,
that's just life. But Harry also like, eager and loving and cuddly and loyal, and he's just such a good dog.
great kids you got there.
And then the other shout out I want to give is to my tribe, my people, my inner circle. Like I feel like I've gotten such really great, like I'm just gonna call it like family time in the last couple of weeks. I just feel good, like full, like my heart is full. I'm grounded. I feel loved and surrounded by just good people in my life. So I'm shouting out all of my people. What do you got? What are your shout outs?
My shout out is gotta celebrate my girl,
Mm,
Taylor
mm.
Swift. Is yesterday was the 5th, which is insane to say, the 5th anniversary of the Folklore album being released. And just to flash back to this album was released in 2020, and it was a surprise album,
Yeah. In
and
the
it
middle of
was
lockdown, it was released.
it was yeah, in
Yeah.
July of 2020, and
Yeah.
it was truly an album that would not have happened without the pandemic because she had all this time. Her entire schedule was cleared, like
Yeah.
all of our
Yeah.
schedules, and
Wow.
she decided to experiment and work with different songwriters and created this, I mean, album of the year, Grammy winning album. And it is honestly, I believe I reflect on it a lot because it is so gorgeous. I mean, her songwriting has always been phenomenal, and I
Yeah.
love all her albums. But Folklore is the album that brought on so many other fans to her music
Yeah.
because it is so much more, I think, singer songwriter,
Sure.
folky, like, but it still has some pop sensibilities here and there. And
Yeah.
it really was one of, especially at that point in the pandemic, right in the mid-year, it was a bright spot I know I desperately needed. And so seeing it that we're at the 5th anniversary, and I'm, there was posts
Yeah.
about it. I see so many people also saying, thank God for that album. That album saved my life. That album
Wow.
like got me through and still gets me through. And
Yeah.
I was listening to it on the way to work and yesterday, and
Mm.
it was like there's still moments where like it chokes me up. It just
Mm.
hits a nerve in me that is so beautiful. And I'm grateful that during such hard times that artists find some of the most beautiful works in them, and that they then
Yeah.
decide to share it with all of us. So
Yeah.
thank you,
Awesome.
Taylor Swift. Thank you, Folklore. So grateful.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I like
Yeah.
that.
I think
That's
we're at
it.
the end of this
I
rodeo.
think we're done. I think this is it. Yeah.
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 I feel like there was one other thing you wanted to mention, maybe a special sort of upcoming episode slash feature that we might be experimenting with. You wanna share it?
Yes. We're going shopping. Just kidding.
Yay! We have our grand prize giveaway. No, that's not what we're saying.
Finally, we're drawing the winner of the pool giveaway we mentioned a few episodes back. No, just kidding. And it's me.
Yay!
And none of you are invited. Just kidding. No, I just wanted to remind our listeners and watchers about our very first Collect Your Thoughts book club pick, which is I Don't Believe in Astrology, a therapist's guide to the life-changing wisdom of the stars by Deborah Silverman. And this episode will be coming out on September 2nd. So we're giving you time, like myself, we're giving you time to read if you like. If not, hey, that's just an episode to look forward to. And we will talk about it and, share our insights from it. And hopefully they'll be interesting and fun. And we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm actually looking forward to that one. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, here's a time in the broadcast where we remind everyone, just make sure that they're going to pause and
collect your thoughts.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.